It's finally over. After 15 years, 6 seasons, and 3 films, the world of Downton Abbey has taken its final bow. And honestly, I can't believe I'm saying goodbye. The grand finale has arrived, and it might just be the most fitting, heartfelt send-off a period drama has ever received. But before we close the doors to Downton for good, let's talk about what made this final chapter so special, and maybe a little bittersweet. When I was growing up, my parents were obsessed with period dramas. Jane Austen adaptations were always on TV. Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Emma. The kind of shows that made Sunday afternoons feel elegant and nostalgic. I think that's where my love for historical storytelling began. Then came 2010. Downton Abbey aired for the first time, and suddenly the world stopped to listen to the bells of the Crawley estate. The drama, the wit, the fashion, everything was perfect. I was hooked instantly. It was classy television that made you care deeply about every single character. But when Matthew died at the end of season 3, I'll admit, something broke. For a while, the show just didn't feel the same. Like many others, I drifted away, still fond of it, but no longer glued to the screen. Years later, I dipped my toes back in when Bridgerton reignited my love for all things corsets and candlelight. And that led me right back to Downton Abbey. This time, I rewatched everything from the beginning, heartbreaks and all, and rediscovered why this show meant so much to me. So when I walked into the theater for the grand finale, I was hit by that familiar mix of excitement and melancholy. The story I'd grown up with was truly ending. And yet somehow I left the cinema smiling. Let's start with the basics, the movie's reception. It scored an impressive 92% from critics and 96% from audiences, earning around $67 million globally so far. Sure, it's not breaking box office records, but it's quietly proving that emotional storytelling still sells. It may not have the financial hype of the first film, which benefited from that pre-COVID excitement, but this one carries the weight of closure, and that's something money can't measure. Visually, it's stunning. Every frame glows with rich color and life, a breath of fresh air compared to today's muted cinematic tones. The cinematography captures the warmth and elegance of an era gone by, while the music, oh, that score, tugs at the heartstrings in ways you don't expect. You realize how deeply Downton Abbey's soundtrack has always carried its soul. The costumes? Perfect as ever. Whether historically precise or not, they look perfect. Grand without feeling showy. And the acting? As always, melodramatic in the best possible way. That slightly over-the-top flair is part of Downton's DNA, and the cast embraces it beautifully. Now let's dive into the story. The movie picks up 2 years after the events of the last film, beginning with a glamorous ball at Lady Petersfield's townhouse. Right away, we're reintroduced to the Crawleys amid yet another swirl of high society gossip and scandal. And what's the big news this time? Mary's divorce from Henry Talbot, something fans have been waiting for far too long. The audience collectively exhaled. Finally, Mary's free. The writers clearly didn't hold back when it came to portraying Henry's downfall. Once charming, now unfaithful, and even deceitful, his character gets completely dismantled. It's almost as if the script wanted to make sure we'd never ask for him again. But that's part of what makes the finale satisfying. Downton Abbey has never been afraid to let its characters face the consequences of their choices. Lady Petersfield herself is a standout, all pomp and pride, until it crumbles. Her snobbery reaches its peak when she kicks Mary out of her party simply because being divorced might offend the incoming royals. Yet, moments later, she's humiliated when the Crawleys refuse to flatter her back. It's poetic justice done with wit and elegance. Meanwhile, Mary stays in London to meet her Uncle Harold, who arrives from America with his financial advisor, Gus Sambrook, a man whose smile hides something sinister. At first, Gus seems like he could be Mary's new romantic spark, but that illusion doesn't last. What begins as flirtation turns into manipulation, and before long, his true motives come to light. He's not a savior. He's a predator of the upper class, exploiting their trust for profit. This subplot perfectly mirrors Downton's recurring theme, that behind every display of nobility lies a fragile web of deceit and desperation. Sambrook's presence reminds us that privilege doesn't protect anyone from betrayal. As the story unfolds, we see familiar patterns return. The Crawleys facing another financial crisis, the tension between tradition and change, and the question of whether Downton can survive another generation. Robert, as always, resists letting go. Mary, as always, pushes forward. Their conflict feels both timeless and symbolic, Old England versus New England. Eventually, the truth about Sam Brooke's schemes comes out, and it's Tom who exposes him, proving once again why he's one of the show's quiet heroes. In the aftermath, Mary reclaims her strength, taking control of the estate with grace and resolve. It's the final evolution of her character, from uncertain daughter to fearless matriarch. Robert and Cora finally find peace too, moving into Violet's old house, leaving Mary to lead the future of Downton Abbey. It's a changing of the guard, gentle, emotional, and right, but Downton Abbey wouldn't be Downton Abbey without its ensemble of charming side stories. We see Molesley, now a full-time screenwriter, inflated by his own success, pompous, pretentious, and almost unrecognizable from the humble man we once knew. His storyline offers comic relief and a quiet warning about pride. When his moment of humiliation comes, it feels oddly cathartic. Barrow, meanwhile, finally finds happiness, something long overdue. Daisy, Carson, and Isabel unite to outsmart a classist, misogynistic fair organizer in a sequence that feels like pure Downton magic, clever, heartfelt, and deeply satisfying. By the time Mary stands on that stage to give her speech at the county fair, the Crawleys have not just regained their social standing, they've evolved past it. And then comes the final scene, the one that broke everyone. Mary's visions of Matthew, Sybil, and Violet, fleeting, beautiful, and filled with quiet grace. It's not just nostalgia, it's closure. It's the show saying, yes, the people you loved are gone, but what they built remains. For longtime fans, that moment feels like a warm hand on the shoulder, a promise that the legacy of Downton Abbey will live on, even if we never see it again. In the end, the grand finale does something rare in modern storytelling. It gives us peace. It wraps up every thread with care, corrects past missteps, and delivers an ending that feels true to the spirit of Downton Abbey. No rushed cliffhangers, no cheap shocks. Just a graceful farewell to a world we've grown to love. Maybe someday we'll return. Perhaps decades later, with an older Mary at the helm. But for now, this feels like the perfect goodbye. A final toast to a story that defined a generation of television. So what about you? Did you love the grand finale as much as I did? Did it make you cry, laugh, or miss those days of weekly anticipation? Let me know your thoughts, because if there's one thing Downton Abbey taught us, it's that stories like these never truly end. They just live on in our hearts,